Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are from Walnut Kills, California. This is Vandal, the Love Handle Drummond, joined at the headquarters of LuchaWorld with Fredo Esparza. What's going on?
I thought you were going to forget where you were at.
I'm forgetting a lot of things. I'm half a century old now, and my memory is going. I can remember the very first wrestling show I went to in 1973. I remember the finishes of every match. But ask me the last names of all my friends at work, and I'm like, there's Lenny, there's Nancy, and
that's gonna happen at some point.
Yeah, but it sucks.
Yeah. The podcast is gonna get a lot worse once you start losing your memory.
Or it's gonna get a lot worse, or a lot more amusing.
Or it's gonna be Slam and Stand.
Yeah.
We'll just call it Slam and Stand 2.
Yeah,
Slam and Stand Dos.
That's right.
Oh, there you go.
El Hijo de Slam and Stand.
Yeah, we were going to do the podcast, last week or something?
That's right.
But
originally that's when we...
I kind of figured previewing a show on a Thursday night wasn't really... The biggest show of the year for CMLL didn't really make much sense.
September 14th was the 79th anniversary show for CMLL, and I think you were wise, especially since one of the beautiful things about this day and age is we can always rely on somebody in the arena to have a handheld camera to tape the matches.
And this time we had 2 people taping the matches.
Exactly. It's sweet. I remember years ago when you watched...
And uploading it, more importantly. You kind of sometimes had somebody show up and record it, but then you'd have to buy a tape or
get the DVD.
No, not even the DVD, the tape.
No, the tape, that's
the DVD wasn't
Well, remember...
YouTube started by that point.
I remember the late 80s. It was sweet. Whenever you turned on Galavision Lucha Libre on Sunday afternoon, they were the matches from the previous Friday night.
Yeah.
And then it was only a matter of a few years where, you're getting a several-week delay on stuff.
When, 2001, 2002, somewhere around time. Yeah. It's something recent, and now it's back to normal. Except now you only get you get 40 minutes of wrestling and about 20-30 minutes of commercials.
Of commercials, yes.
Yeah, where you're just like, oh god, when does this end?
And cameramen who think they're creative, who are just annoying the hell out of you by fixing camera shots.
I gotta say this one thing, camera, that's gotta be the easiest job, the best job in the world, the cameraman. Because they're basically just taking camera shots of the ring girls the whole time. It's like,
exactly,
Jesus
they're
Christ.
getting their jollies.
Yes.
Well, one thing that we can say is a real positive is this is the first CMLL anniversary show in several years that didn't have some goofy, cage match or... I'm even trying to remember what...
I think we've had a cage match at least, 3 of the last 4 years?
Yeah.
3 of the last 5 years. Yeah.
It seemed like for several years they were just, throwing these together at the last minute, the anniversary.
But I think we're going to get another cage match if the attendance is what it's listed.
Well,
I don't mind the cage matches if the rest of the card is pretty decent. But I mean, I was going through the list of stuff and it doesn't compare to what could happen, what might have happened in this last show, where you basically have 2 good matches, and then there's people that say that there was an even better match than the 2 matches that made their way onto the
Now, was that the 6-man tag with, was that the Mexico versus Japan match?
I think it was the other one.
Okay.
Might have been the other one.
The women's match, the open.
No. Oh, God.
I was so shocked they had a women's match.
Oh, you gotta...
Seen a women's match forever in
Have you seen the women's match? There's a women's match from Cadena 3.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta look for it. There is this 2-3 minutes where it just falls apart. Luna Magica's supposed to go over the top rope. They take a bump and you're supposed to go over the top rope. Well, she can't go over the top rope. She just dangles on it and then just falls back in.
Oh, no.
And then there's this other spot where she's doing the bulldog headlock, and she totally misses grabbing the girl's head.
Oh my god.
This was followed by me watching a bunch of women's wrestling from Japan, which even made it worse. It's like, oh god.
Yeah, but like we said, there was two fans who taped the proceedings. The two main matches, which were the Mask vs. Mask with Rey Cometa and Puma King.
Yeah.
And the main event, Rush versus Terrible. And one thing I must say, I loved watching the handheld version. I think a little more...
Yeah, because you got a wider shot.
Yeah, I loved seeing that whole panoramic ring shot. I loved, especially during the match between Rey Cometa and Puma King, is they were doing these beautiful flying moves, and it's actually more fun to see the whole landscape while they're doing these. You know me, I bitch and moan about the fancy camera work, or so-called fancy camera work in CMLL. But more than that, you have all these really close-up shots of all these beautiful flying moves, and it takes away from how cool they really look when you see them from a distance.
Because they always end up, sometimes they'll, pan out to, a fan or something, and by the time they get back, the guy's already basically completing the move.
Yes. Which
takes away from it, Yes. It really does take us... They can't grasp that we don't really have to get the camera... And every single show that CML does, they do that. They'll go to a crouch shot immediately. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes there's some good-looking women in attendance, exactly. Which it's fine to show, but you don't have to do it every they got some sort of disease or something where they're just they can't stay in one place.
Well, and it also makes sense if there was a really cool spot or dramatic point in a match, and then you do a shot of a crowd of somebody reacting. But most of the time, it's not even a shot like that. It's somebody waving at the camera like, "Hey, looky me, looky me."
Yeah, I think it was getting back to what you were saying, I think it was the Mexico versus Japan match, the trios match.
Well, hoping that will surface soon.
Of course, I could be wrong.
Now,
I only know what I've heard, but it's nothing. It's nothing. Now, yeah, it is that one.
Between the two matches that we have seen, did you have a favorite, and what did you like about each?
I actually thought the mask match was the one I preferred. I liked it.
Too. Yes.
What I liked about it was because if you've seen their build up to that match, there was the feud was well laid out where they basically had this one spot that you were talking about was your favorite spot, where the head scissors to the outside.
That was sweet.
Where Puma King catches them and swings them into the rail.
Into the rail.
That had been part of every single time they faced off. That was part of the match. So everybody kind of hoped, maybe this time he won't get hit. And it still happened to him. It
still happened. It's almost like the Ric Flair bump.
Yes. So it's and the other thing is I think when you pick one guy that you're rooting for, people think you don't like the other guy. But Puma King is a really good worker.
He is, and I gotta say I like. See, I didn't see any of the build up. I have to say first off.
No, really.
Shocker! I have not, and we're not talking Shocker.
We'll talk about Shocker later.
Yeah, there's another story.
Yes, there's another story right there.
But I didn't see the build-up. But watching this match, I loved the chemistry between these two.
Yeah.
And I loved the timing of a lot of the spots. There are ones that so easily could have gone awry and made it, or it could have just, I think you pointed out before we started the show, with a lot of wrestlers, this would have been
some of the best stuff we say is off before the show.
Exactly. Maybe before, as soon as I walk through the
we should just start recording.
We should start recording. No, but what you said before the show started is that there's a lot of wrestlers this would look like a spot fest, but this was a match where even if you didn't see the build-up, you could see the grudge between these two guys.
Yeah.
And, I mean, this was just beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, the tornado off the entrance at the very beginning, that's when you knew right away, okay, it's going to be a good match. Because, how many guys do tornado off that? I mean, I think the prior to that was probably Mystico jumping off the... I think there's been a few guys who have done, a spot off the top of the entrance, but it's never been something like a tornado.
No, nothing like that.
That's got to be a little more...
The other one where
I'd be scared just climbing and stepping down,
Oh, totally.
I've seen guys when they have the brawls, when they're brawling coming down, dude, you're going to fall. Somebody stay down there to take care of them.
Well, in the third fall, the head scissors from the top turnbuckle that went onto the floor, I was like... When they were about to do it, that's the only time when I saw the two of them look a little hesitant.
Yeah.
And I even cringed a little well, please let this be okay. That and The foiled sunset flip over the top rope to the outside of the ring.
The powerbomb?
Not the powerbomb, but this was where Puma King was outside the ring on the apron, and Kometa went to do a sunset flip, out onto the outside of the ring, but he loses and crashes to the outside of the ring, and I mean that looked really good.
Yeah.
But when I was seeing it, I'm like, yeah, I guess I'm just getting old, and every time I see somebody take a crazy bump, I cringe. But
yeah,
it looked beautiful, and there was a lot of bumps that looked pretty wild, but you could tell they were protecting each other, which to me is a big issue. We were talking about the power bomb off the turn.
No, that other one was a power bomb too. The spot you're talking about was a power bomb.
Okay.
It was because he goes for a sunset flip, and Puma King catches him and drops him.
Okay, yes.
It's a power bomb too. But the power bomb off the top rope was crazy too, because I think you were telling me that's. I mean, it looked like he was going to try a different move. Rey Cometa was probably going to do something different.
Yeah.
And then or I guess it was more like teasing that he was going to do something different. Mm-hmm. And then he brought him. Puma King brought him back inside to do the power bomb.
Yes.
And you're telling me that it's actually safer to do it that way.
It is. One of the biggest surprises when I first started learning to wrestle is when I'd see guys taking really high backdrops, I'd get really uncomfortable. And one of the people I saw doing was Ed Moretti, and it was pretty spectacular because in the same vein as Playboy Buddy Rose, you see this really heavy guy take this really high backdrop and come crashing down. And I was one who was saying, "Oh, I don't think I want to take a backdrop that high." And Moretti was the first person to tell me, "No, the higher backdrops are the one that don't hurt.
Yeah.
When you try to go forward and land, or just try to take a halfway bump, when you take the backdrop, those are the ones that jar your back and hurt."
Yeah.
But yeah, you go really high and you land, you do a nice perfect landing on your back. It's actually a very gentle bump. It looks hellacious.
Oh, wow.
The other one I've never taken a superplex, but I remember Mickey Doyle telling me that
or a top rope Frankensteiner. Top rope Frankensteiner.
Memories
yes.
of Arena Paraguay when what was that guy's name?
Poder Infernal.
Poder Infernal gave me the
he gave you the signal for top rope Frankensteiner.
Shockingly, he did it quite.
Yeah. Well, you were still young back then.
I was only 40.
You were only 40 something.
Yeah, 43, 44, something like that.
You're still spry. You were. Come on, Negro Casas can do it. Come on, you can do it.
But yeah, Mickey Doyle told me that the superplex actually was a gentler landing than a straight suplex, which
wow,
also surprised me.
And of course, it ends with the Felina. Wasn't it the Felina that finishes it off? Which I thought was, it's appropriate. It's kind of funny because I thought people kind of already knew that Puma King was going to be the winner. I go on Facebook and this guy's like, I think that match was fixed. I was like laughing. I go, dude, he was a guy from Mexico, bro. I think that match is fixed. And I'm like, dude, do you really realize this is pro wrestling? But you always think because when you're talking to smart. Most of the people here in the U.S. are kind of smart to the business.
Yes.
It's always refreshing to hear somebody like, I think it was fixed. And it's like, yeah, you don't say.
No shit.
No, I think the biggest shocker was that when Rey Cometa unmasked, he revealed himself to be Mexican. Because I actually didn't think he was Mexican.
Really?
No, just kidding.
I was going to say. Don't you know
he had long hair.
Minds of the feeble?
He had long hair. There's a shocker.
You thought it was me.
Yes. But see, I actually enjoyed that match, especially because it kind of, I thought it elevated both guys.
Oh, definitely. No doubt. And actually what I like between that and the Russian Terrible matches, you had really two different matches. You had one match where they're using a lot of technique, and while it is a grudge, they're using every scientific move to try to outdo each other. And then you go to Russian Terrible, which is just this blood feud. Where
they're just slapping each other.
Exactly. They just want to take each other out.
Oh, they did a couple of topes, too. They stole Rey Bucanero and Hijo de Fantasma's spot, where Hijo de Fantasma kept hitting topes on Rey Bucanero outside. Mm-hmm. That happened in that match.
Oh, the one thing I must say we did miss by not having, close-up cameras was, I know the blood was supposed to be quite...
And the ring girls. We didn't get a close up of the ring girls.
Oh, that's okay.
We should have written that on the comment section of the YouTube page.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Where's the ring girls?
That's okay. I just turned it off and went on and downloaded the photos of them.
Did you know Satanico's daughter is a ring girl?
Oh my god! if I was Satanico, man, I'd be pretty protective.
She's pretty hot too.
Wow.
Daniela Lopez.
Oh my god. If I was a pro wrestler and one of my daughters was even in the arena, I think I'd get defensive.
I laugh when I hear about that. It's like, okay, that's kind of weird, you know.
That is weird.
Yeah.
That I think I'd rather my daughter be a wrestler than a ring girl. I
think the ring girls make more money though.
Wow.
Don't they?
That's even stranger.
Wouldn't they make more money? I mean, come on, they got to do more work.
Well, we went to an indie show once where the ring girl was making more than the wrestlers. I think $125.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And just for being a ring girl, that's not like a smart-ass remark that she did anything else.
Yeah.
So she was a ring girl and made $125 on a small indie show.
Getting back to Rush and Terrible.
Yes, I love how we stray.
Yes. What else were we going to talk about that match? I actually thought it was really good.
I enjoyed it a lot. I am a huge Rush fan. Even when he was greener than he is now, I was still a huge fan.
He's not that green now.
No,
he's got Japanese experience now. having been to Japan, he's got experience. Isn't that part of the new rule of pro wrestling? If you go to Japan, you're basically now a veteran.
It's kind of like you bought enough feet on Farmville that you're now a veteran.
Yes. You're not.
I've been a huge Rush fan for a while. I mean, even when people were joking about how green he was and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The one thing I loved is he just has a natural feel for the audience.
He's just got natural charisma as a heel.
Yeah.
Like a jerk. You know, he's a jerk. He's he comes off like a jerk. Which is great. What's
really cool about him is he's improved a lot. So he's not one of these guys who, it's not like an Ultimate Warrior thing where, okay, I got the charisma. Coast.
Can't do shit in the ring. Exactly. This guy can actually do he's actually doing stuff like he can brawl. He throws in a couple of high flying moves every once in a while. Mm-hmm. Stuff like that, and he plays to the crowd great. Cuts pretty good promos whenever they give him a chance, but.
And
he never does.
He's spontaneous with a crowd.
Yeah.
Just he reads a crowd beautifully. That's what I think I enjoy most about him.
Yeah, Terrible is actually pretty good too. So.
Oh yeah.
Not to put him down.
Definitely not.
Yeah. He's actually improved too. He's actually improved. I think he's actually improved more than Rush has. Over what he was compared to now. Because I think Rush. You could kind of see that he was already improving within the last 2-3 years.
Yes.
Whereas Terrible took that next step ever since Tejano left. Ever since Tejano left, he's actually been a far more confident wrestler in the ring.
Oh,
you could see it. You could see he's not dependent on Tejano Jr.
I was going to say, is it a thing where now he gets to stand out?
Yeah.
Well, remember how when M.A.S. Uno passed away, we were talking about here was a guy who was an amazing worker, yet he was overshadowed just because the trio he was with were even more amazing.
Yeah.
And he was kind of in the shadows sometime.
Yeah, and I think that's what happened to Terrible. Because, he was good, but I think everybody was like, Tejano Jr., he's young, he should be the world champion. We had seen him before on his own, where he was actually really talented.
Yes.
And Terrible was, Terrible, he was all right. He's a good wrestler. He's all right. But now it's like, okay, now he's a heavyweight champion. He's got a little more. He's a good brawler. He looks a lot better in the ring compared to what he looked like in the past.
I agree, and that was a really good match.
Yeah,
real good blood feud. One of the funny things is showing how sometimes even my long-term memory isn't the best. One of the things I was rolling my eyes at when I read the recap of the matches, on...
Steve Sims is going to get upset. He wrote the recaps.
We're calling you out, Steve Sims.
Poor Steve.
Before I saw the match, when I saw the times... the time of the first two falls in each match.
You knew that was Steve, right?
The first fall was, it seems like a lot of the reasons Apuestas matches, the first and second falls are like 3 to 5 minutes. You know.
You know the thing. You know, I should. This is off topic, but the times. Mm-hmm. That's more of an American thing because a lot of the guys from Mexico, they don't really keep track. They don't
keep time on it.
No, they don't keep track of time.
Well, the funny thing I was saying, why do they do that these days? And then it dawned on me that wait a minute, 1987 when I saw the Hijo de Santo Negro Casas match. Negro Casas took the first fall in like record time.
That's more of an Ultimo Guerrero thing now, though.
Is it really?
The short fall thing, that's his formula. That's his formula more.
It's almost 2 formula. I mean,
because I think the first fall was 5 minutes, second fall was like 3 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
And then the last fall was really long. I have to admit, the first couple of minutes that I saw that match, I didn't think it was as good. Because I read
of the
Rush Terrible, the Rush Terrible, I didn't think it compared to anything that Rey Comet and Puma King did.
No, in fact, the first fall of the Rush Terrible match, the one thing I will say, that first fall...
I thought it was great, like the because they were really into it.
Yeah.
But it I was like, yeah, you know, this is all right, you know, because I was like, they're going with the same formula that they were doing with every other 2 out of 3 falls.
And for some reason, that first fall, even though their work was good, it felt much different than the Cometa versus Puma King. It seemed almost like they're saying, okay, let's get this fall over with fast and go to the next one. Like, bam, bam, bam.
Let's then the third fall came, and that was really good.
That was beautiful.
And that's the one difference. Ultimo Guerrero, sometimes they'll have like a third fall, and it just falls flat. For some reason, Ultimo Guerrero, well, I think it's the booking, the having a little power kind of, or it's just him, you know.
Okay, now you know how I always one of the strange things about me is, on one hand, I go crazy when people gripe about how wrestling isn't the same as it used to be, and yada yada yada. But at the same time, I find myself seeing what I think worked yesteryear as compared to today. And I guess I shouldn't say that the way they did some of these grudge matches in the past were better, just different. But one of the first things that I thought of when I was watching that third fall, and not really being able to see their juiced heads or anything like that, but knowing that that's what it was, is I found myself really craving to watch the 1983 anniversary show, MAS Uno versus Sangre Chicana. And, and as soon as the Rush Terrible match was over, that's exactly what I did, is I watched the match between Sangre Chicana and MAS Uno, and the difference in just a blood feud, between these two matches are just night and day, and I almost hesitate to say it because that's not a knock on Rush and Terrible, but just it's done differently these days because they have this blood feud, but they're throwing these kind of clever high spots in too. Yeah. Which, don't get me wrong, look nice, but this is a match where they want to just destroy each other.
How dare you insult these guys?
Yes, bad man. But the reason
but I know what you mean, that it doesn't look as
and that. And again, this isn't even a today versus yesterday thing, but just how amazing Sangre Chicana and MAS Uno were as workers. Yeah. I mean, I think even if you went back to 1983, you'd be hard-pressed to find two guys who did that match as well as those.
The brawling style.
Yeah, they were absolutely... The only thing that could be referred to as a high spot in that match were the topes they did.
Yeah, and they didn't do a bunch of them. They just did,
and they were like brutal topes. They weren't. It wasn't like they did a series of high spots, drop kick out of the ring, then tope. I
was actually surprised at the number of topes in the Rush Terrible match.
I was too, and they were all good
like
too.
At least 5 or 6, right? And they were all really good, and not just topes, because I know Rush did a senton to the outside.
And it just wasn't one where they hit each other and bounced back into the ring and fly.
They actually did some pretty good stuff.
Yeah, but anybody listening to this, just look up the MAS Uno versus Sangre Chicana match from the anniversary show in '83 on YouTube. It's just a beautiful match. And again, that's one where the first fall ends almost right away, only because MAS Uno blindsides Sangre Chicana, who is a bloody mess at ringside, and the way he just staggers around and is just struggling to get back to his feet. And I think it isn't until like the second fall where he finally makes a comeback. And the comeback is just one punch that rocks MAS Uno, and the place pops like crazy. And to have two guys who can who can have a crowd pop for one punch, no high spots. I mean,
nowadays you got to do everything.
Yeah. And,
come on, these fans don't. These fans think it's
these kids today.
They need more topes.
And hey, growing up, of course, I'm gonna
a different match.
Love what I grew up.
The other thing is that with the way wrestling was back then, you kind of knew Sangre Chicana could maybe go for like a month to Monterrey, travel the circuit, go around other parts of the country. Whereas now it's like Russian Terrible are going to wrestle like 3 or 4 times in the same area. They're going to be in Arena Mexico. They're going to be in Arena Colegio. They're going to be in Guadalajara, Puebla. So it's like, and they don't really go anywhere else for for a 2-week trip. So it's like the feud, even if it ends, they're still going to come back and keep doing the same thing.
Right.
So it's one of those things.
It's just
it's a different era.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm gonna always look nostalgically back because that was
I love how
wrestling I had a passion for when I was younger. But
I love how the last couple of years we complain about CMLL and they still bust out like a bunch of great matches. And it's like, oh, they suck and all this stuff, and they still have like a bunch of good matches.
I know. I think the quote that we've said the most on this show, and I think on Slam and Stand too, is that we love CML despite its booking.
Yeah, it's
like booking is horrible, but the wrestlers are so.
There's a bunch
good.
of bad matches. I'm not going to deny there's bad matches because I mean when you're getting like 10 shows, you're getting about 30-40 matches a week.
Oh,
it's like you're not going to get like if you get like one great match out of that, that's amazing. If you get like 5 good matches out of that, that's pretty good.
And who's the Joker who just wants to put a women's trios match on every single TV show? Every single TV show, I
Let's
swear.
complain about that. I was telling you about the Titan versus Pulvera match, which is that's another great match. There was that match, the tag match for the Arena Coliseo tag team titles in Arena Mexico a couple weeks ago. It had the champs are Fuego and Stuka Jr., who's pretty good tag team. They were challenged by Namahagwe and Okumura. The way they set it up was really great, where they had I think it was a trios match the week before, and it was I can't remember who they were teaming with, but it was Namahagwe. Okumura was supposed to be in the match. He didn't show up. There were a bunch of no-shows at that show. He didn't show up, so everybody's like, okay, he didn't show up either. But what happened was that he came out at the end to help Namahagwe get the win, to set up the tag title match. The tag title match was actually really good. That's another match you should probably watch. And then the match that was pretty good also is Negro Casas versus Angel de Oro.
And I saw mention of that on the internet somewhere too.
Yeah.
Somebody else was raving about that.
Yeah. Negro Casas is fucking great.
He's ageless.
he's just fucking great. He's just like, it's like he's like the one old guy who figured out how to like stick around and still be relevant.
The reason
him and Blue Panther, and I think Blue Panther and Black Terry, Negro Navarro's another guy. Those guys have figured out how to still put out good matches and still remain relevant with today's generation of fans.
Yeah, they've got a formula that's beautiful, and I think I think anybody could learn from that. But one, they don't base it on just bumping the hell out of each other all the time. I mean, the reason Negro Casas is pretty much my all-time favorite wrestler is the very first time I saw him, what blew me away is I saw him taking these bumps that, as I was watching him, I'm saying, those bumps look crazy, but I can tell he knows what he's doing. And
he still takes those bumps every once in a while, but he just doesn't do it as often.
And plus,
he times it.
They look crazier than they are.
And the funny thing about Negro Casas is here's a guy who actually made his. I mean, he's in a promotion that's serious and stable. The CMLL tradition, and he's one of the old guys who comes from that old guard of guys where they're going to be all serious and.
Yes.
You expect them to be really serious. And what does he do? He comes out with a little parrot. And
he's
dancing.
Clown.
He's dancing with them.
And
it works. It works with him. It works with him.
He's always been the class clown.
Yeah. So
I remember one of the first years when I went to TJ, he was wrestling Tornado Negro, and Tornado Negro beats him in the second fall, and he walks around with this pouty face like a 2-year-old child who just lost his lollipop, and Ari Romero was the second. And Ari Romero was protesting the referee's decision, shouting, and Negro Casas standing next to him with his head bowed, with his boo-boo lip out, and he taps Romero on the shoulder, and he points to the dressing room. Like, I want to go back, I don't want to wrestle anymore. And Romero's screaming at him. And
that's great.
It's like, he's a great technical wrestler who has no problem with being a class clown too.
Yeah.
I mean, he just does it all.
Yeah. Just
And similarly, like Negro Navarro, Solar. I mean, there's guys.
Solar's another guy.
I mean, those are guys who mix enough technical work and almost like.
There's a documentary on him. He's going to be part of documentary. And
really?
Yeah, on I think PBS.
The one on the 28th?
Yeah, the 28th.
Okay, I want to see that.
Yeah. There's a lot of documentaries going out right now.
Well, the things about the Negro Navarros, the Solars...
He's actually in the documentary. I think he is.
When you see these guys who do a lot of technical wrestling, it's beautiful to watch. It's great stuff. It gets over, and it doesn't tear apart the body.
No, it doesn't. And you know, the funny thing... I still love the Negro Navarro match where he wrestled Nicho. And Nicho brings in, like, weapons and stuff. And Negro Navarro just chokes him out. It's like,
oh, that's
awesome.
awesome.
Like one of the from last year. That's actually one of the funnier. Wasn't a very good match, but I mean, just the fact that he chokes him out was probably the funniest thing. And you know, Nicho's being, you know, he's a pro, so he sells it like he's actually
kind of like the Raiders of the Lost Ark when there's the swordsman flinging the sword at Indiana Jones. He pulls out his gun and shoots him.
that kind of like that, where it's like, and Navarro just chokes him out. It's like, okay, that's it. You know, we were talking about all these other anniversary shows. I think this one actually might be like I think this one, once we get more of it that airs, I think it'll end up being one of the better ones. Because I was going through the list of the last 10 years of it, and it's like, fuck, some of these shows were horrible.
Oh, there were some bad ones. There were some...
Like there was some stuff where, like, I could barely, like... there was, like, the cage match. The ones that were headlined by cage matches were really bad.
Yeah, and a lot of times it sounded like they were planning on doing something else at the main event, but at the last minute they're saying, oh, well, let's just...
Yeah,
let's just have a cage match.
The Blue Panther Viano 5 one, I actually do remember that because it actually had a CMLL versus TNA type of trios match at the bottom of it.
I feel silly because I actually...
You only got...
forgot that was... I remember that match well, but I forgot it was the anniversary show.
Yeah.
I thought it was...
There was actually like 3 or 4 different CMLL versus TNA. It was like a big feud before they quit dealing with them.
Yes. And
I think they probably told... I bet they told CMLL, we want you guys to book Jeff Jarrett. And they were like, fuck no. Jeff Jarrett? We want... You know, that's the big difference between CMLL and AAA. Mm-hmm. AAA will take... practically anybody because they kind of have an understanding what these, because it's story, they're more story driven.
Yes.
So they'll bring in Abyss, Jeff Jarrett, whereas CMLL wants their junior heavyweights, the lighter weight guys, to work with their lighter weight guys on their side. So it's like,
well, I guess that's why I haven't watched much AAA. You know, it's not that I dislike AAA, but if I have so much time, I love my traditional Lucha.
You know, the problem with right now with Lucha, there's so much of it. I don't think there's. It would be difficult to expect people to watch every show.
Yeah, it's like the quandary that MMA is in right now.
If you're not the Cubs fan, Rob or myself, or Chris Zellner, or Dr. Lucha, you're really not I don't think you're watching every show, or like... If it was... And I don't even think we watch every show.
No, I think if it was a little over 20 years ago, I'd be in hog heaven. I'd be watching Lucha all the time, but over the years I've gotten some other interests, and so I have to kind of like...
Like porn. You're watching
porn.
Oh,
damn straight. Yes. What's more beautiful than porn?
It's that basketball you're watching now. You're watching a lot of basketball. You're watching a lot of sports like Brian Alvarez.
That's right. You know how much I love sports.
You're going to start comparing El Dandy's possibilities into the Hall of Fame like some baseball player that you've only
yeah, you know, there's progress. I know who Kurt Rambis is now.
There you go.
1 year ago I didn't.
Yeah.
Now, we heard different stories on what the attendance was. You heard different stories than I heard.
Well, all I know is that they reported that was 8,500 plus like 3,000 going in for free. And
I heard another source saying there was like 12,000 to 14,000.
And I heard 17,000. Just kidding.
Yeah, right.
No, I think it was somewhere around 11. I think it is the 11 to 12.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that. But who paid? That's the entirely different story.
Because it seems like up until the last couple of years is when the attendance really started dropping for the anniversary shows. Although it's still shocking how some still drew, even though there's some lackluster main events.
It's weird because some shows draw really well, but it kind of seems to be like a seasonal type of thing. Because I was noticing like with Puebla, when you watch Puebla, like the last show, we'll talk about this later, but they had a show where they showed the show from like 2 weeks ago, and they showed one from August. The August portion of the show was packed. Pueblo was packed. The whole building was packed. That's like it's a couple thousand that fit in there, right? And the follow up show in September was like maybe like 50 people in attendance, within the area. And then there's like another 200 people in the cages.
Oh, funny.
Which I mean, it's like I think it's more of a. I don't know. It kind of. I think wrestling's just like not as hot as it used to be. So
yeah, this is true.
You never know what will attract people. And
it makes me wonder. We haven't really combed the history too deeply. I wonder if they've ever gone through a dry spell like this before. So,
I think the mid-90s were probably similar, weren't they?
Yeah, when the economy went bust.
I think Steve said there was a show that had like 4,500 for one of the anniversary shows.
We hear about a lot of the glory days, 40s, 50s stuff. I wonder if at any time during those years, was there an era we didn't hear about where they just kind of...
Probably back when Abraham Lincoln
wrestled Jack Armstrong.
In Arena Mexico. It was Arena Mexico. We'll call it Arena Mexico. Abraham Lincoln versus Jack Armstrong.
Totally, at Arena Paraguayo.
Yes, Arena Paraguayo in front of 25 people.
It got me curious because I was looking over the history of the anniversary shows on the internet.
I should mention, did you notice people were saying Atlantis had been like in 30 consecutive anniversary shows or something? That was like the thing.
God, how old is he? 65 or something?
No, well, I mean, it's possible.
30
is possible. He's been around for that long.
Yeah,
but it isn't 30.
No,
I don't think he's missed a few, so it wasn't. He doesn't have.
However, he's been
there a long time.
Yeah, he's had some significant.
Well, he's
roles.
Basically the CMLL guy. He's Mr. CMLL.
Yeah, and as I was looking over the history of the shows, he had several very significant roles in anniversary shows. Uh-huh. Then, of course, it wasn't the anniversary show, but he had the match with Viano Tercero, which was, I think one of the most prolific mask matches in the last 15 years.
Yeah.
And I'm just a little stumped that he's not a shoo-in for the Hall of Fame. The other guy...
What Hall of Fame are we talking about?
We're talking about the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame.
That's a joke.
You're right. We gotta put him in the WWE.
Yes,
Hall
the
of Fame.
WWE Hall of Fame, where they'll have Atlantis come out and stutter in front of 100,000 people. Like,
I think it'd be better if they if Hijo de Santo came out and accepted an award and it was dubbed in English like the old K. Gordon Murray Santo movies, and have K.
I was laughing because I don't know. Well, I think we did a show where we were talking about Toscano making the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
WWE Hall of Fame. Come on, he could make it. You never know. He made it on. He was on. I don't think they even have those tapes anymore of the Super Astros shows.
Probably not.
Those are probably like the shows that they got rid of.
I'd love to see them.
You never saw Super Astros?
No, I didn't.
Oh, it was a great show. Like for the first couple of weeks when it was all Mexicans, with a couple of Puerto Ricans. Then they went to like all these other guys, and I was like, eh.
Kind of died, huh?
Yeah, it kind of died when it was Barrico time.
Well, the other guy that I as I was looking through the history of the anniversary shows, one of the guys who really fit in to a lot of those shows, especially in the 80s, was Sangre Chicana. And he's another one if we're talking Hall of Fame, because I know this is the time of year we all talk Hall of Fame. And
has he even been mentioned?
I don't think he's been mentioned. And he's some guy, as I was looking at him, saying, why isn't this guy...
Meltzer's biased. I don't know if you knew this.
My God. I'm going to have words with him.
He hates Sangre Chicana.
You know what? I challenge Brian...
It goes back to the days when Sangre Chicana stole Dave Meltzer's lunch in Texas. It's possible they could have crossed paths in Texas.
This is true.
I'm pretty sure Sangre Chicana's been to Texas.
What was the name of that town he lived, that Meltzer lived in Texas? I'm trying to remember.
Lubbock.
Not Lubbock. It had two words.
El Paso.
El Paso, Cripple Creek.
The Double Cross Ranch. He lived in the Double Cross Ranch. I would laugh like him and Terry Funk. You could see him like standing back behind Terry Funk as he's cutting a promo. How long did Dave live in?
I think it was just like about a year.
Like a year. I'm pretty sure that's why he doesn't have.
God, I'm going crazy trying to remember that town. Wichita Falls.
Wichita Falls.
I thought I knew it.
Near Waxahachie.
Waxahachie and.
Was that near Waxahachie?
I have no idea.
I think it is.
My geography's so bad.
Wichita Falls. I think there's a college there that's pretty good. I think.
Oh, does it work?
In basketball, not in...
I was going to say. I was going to ask, would you have attended there if you had stayed in Texas?
No, I think that's like near Dallas, isn't it?
You were the one who paid Sangre Chicana to steal his lunch.
Yes, I did.
Rudo at heart. But no, Sangre Chicana, I mean, he's one guy I actually want to start digging up more old footage of. I mean, I saw him several times in Tijuana. And
you know the thing. I think what holds against a lot of luchadors is that they stay around for a long time, and when TV hit, that's when they all kind of fell apart.
Good point.
Like Sangre Chicana wasn't as good. I mean, by about 92, 93, he really wasn't that great.
Yeah.
That was about the time when he was pretty much going towards the other side of not being as great. And then Cara is the same.
Yeah, very true.
I think Dandy, what goes against El Dandy is the whole WCW thing. But I think that's going to change a bit because Mystico's not having... He's not having a very good time with WWE.
I think that's ridiculous to hold it against somebody who goes to a territory and they just...
Well, LA Park. I mean, LA Park.
Yeah.
I know when I wrote that, I wrote an article on The Observer like last year where I basically said I wouldn't have voted LA Park last year. Completely changed. I would vote for him now.
Yeah, definitely.
Because he's really, I mean, his time in AAA has really been, he's pretty much owned that promotion.
This is true.
So that's different. But you were saying about Sangre Chicana and the anniversaries?
He's somebody I just want to see more of. I mean, there is significant footage of him on YouTube from the mid-'80s when he was still quite the worker. I know I sound like a broken record, but man, I know there's a lot of stuff out there that we gotta
go to Mexico and hunt it down.
That's right. But I know there's a lot of stuff from the 70s, 80s that just hasn't surfaced yet.
The 70s, there's a guy who owns the footage. I was told this. There's a guy that owns the footage, but he won't share it.
Wow.
You have to pay him, but he's not doing it. I don't remember his name, but
he
did the doc. There was like a documentary or a special on Lucha. A lot of footage came from him.
Really? So he would sell it technically,
but he's asking for a lot of money for it.
Wow. Okay. Well, here's hoping I get independently wealthy because I know what I'd do with it.
Yeah. It's one of those stories. It's one of those trading things. I heard about it through a couple of different people that are in trading, and some people that are in trading that have said that they know people who have footage that are waiting for somebody to pay it, and it's like, you're not going to get any money now.
It's true.
It's like, I hate to break
kind of like the Bill Watts, what was in the family, kind of like holding on to that stuff.
Yeah,
really
but see, I think they were making money off of it.
Yes.
Their problem was that they kept selling it at a high price, and that once once YouTube, DVD, download, torrents, all this stuff came up, there wasn't going to be more sales at $25 a pop for a DVD. You know,
this is true.
You're gonna lose all
that
people.
era is gone, way gone, baby.
It's.
I'm the only nut who would pay for something from Mexico.
I think what they would have done, what they should have done is maybe done something where they would have lowered the price, or maybe even like done like documentary, loaned the footage for people to do a Mid-South history of Mid-South or something. But I think WWE is going to do a better job with it anyway.
Probably,
because they have Jim Ross, Michael Hayes, Ted DiBiase.
Yeah, that's going to be
so they're going to have enough people where they could talk about it. At some point, they're going to sell it. It's still in the legal.
If I were to win the lottery, which isn't going to happen because I don't play the lottery.
Yes.
Seriously, that's what I'd do. Is I'd be hunting down wrestling footage, which I know there's a lot of other eccentric people like me who would probably do the same thing if they didn't have to worry about.
And then Elena would tell you you're crazy and kick you out of that.
No, because we'd be filthy rich.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
You wouldn't have to worry.
You would let her do what she wanted to do.
Yeah, exactly. She'd probably have something equally insane in her life aside from just an insane husband.
Insane husband.
Yes. But yeah, there's a ton of stuff from Mexico I would love to see. Who knows? We can wish, we can dream. Occasionally we find something like, I think it was about a year ago when a 1930s match from Greece featuring Jim Londos versus Cola Quariani.
But it went on YouTube though.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, not so much the whole.
There's a lot of stuff.
Aspect.
Yes, and that's the difference. There's a lot of stuff that goes onto YouTube quicker than you'll ever see on there's some stuff that you won't even know that's on YouTube that never made its way into the tape trading thing.
And I guess my question on that is to the best of my knowledge, at least the few people I've talked to said they didn't even know that match existed, that match took place. And boom, here it is on YouTube. Yeah. Do you think it's somebody who just said, "Oh, I found an old wrestling match"?
It's like that Jelly Beans guy. Remember, he doesn't trade, and he came out of nowhere. He's gone now. I think he's gone. Isn't he gone?
Is he gone?
I haven't seen anything like uploaded by him.
Well, I hope he didn't take his stuff down, because for those of you out there who are wondering who Jelly Beans is, it's a local guy in Southern California who had a VCR when they were still kind of...
Did you actually talk to him, or like somebody?
No, just I could tell from the time he taped stuff. It was when a number of people had VCRs.
Because I think Bix or somebody he knows asked him if he would trade.
That's right. I remember. I don't know if it was Bix, but I remember somebody asking him, and he said, "I don't trade."
Yeah.
But he had a lot of stuff from like 1981 when a number of people had VCRs, but they were still quite a luxury. I mean, I remember if I got a tape, I would have to find a friend who had a VCR.
Yeah. And nowadays everybody has like a computer, so
exactly. And I remember back then VCRs were going for like what, $500. Yeah. But so this guy Jelly Beans taped a lot of Southern California stuff that
nobody else had.
He's the only person I know who had a match featuring the Monster versus Mario Valenzuela.
So he still is around, because you've actually posted that video a few times, and I haven't seen him. I haven't seen him update. Maybe it's because I have I subscribe to so many YouTube channels.
Right.
One of the guys in Mexico, he does so many like updates that it's like, fuck, dude. He did one update like over a span of 1 week where he uploaded like 300 matches individually within a span of a week. I was like, holy shit, dude.
Wow.
Like, are you not gonna like do something else? I don't know how they do this stuff. I can't, like, I've had people ask me to like do torrents and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, I don't have
Seriously,
time.
I'd have to be
I don't have time to do that.
I'd have to be
like,
somebody who didn't have to work.
Yeah,
you know, it's like, to be able to do that kind of stuff.
There is a big difference between doing like a tape and a DVD. Like, even doing DVD when you compare to tape, the great thing about tape was that you could put your tape 2 hours, you could go to the supermarket, come back, it'd still be recording.
Yes.
And you'd be done. It'd take longer, but then you knew the people would actually wait. Nowadays, it's like fucking people want shit like right away.
Oh, and everything's like real time.
Yeah, so it's like, and then everything finishes so fast. So you're basically working faster now. It's like,
well, and people have such short attention spans. I'm sure if they had a 20-minute match on tape, they'd say, okay, how can I watch this in 10 minutes, you know?
Yes.
Come on, I gotta get going. I gotta do something.
They can fast forward through the thing, too.
Yeah.
It's like...
But one of the things Jelly Beans recorded in 1981 is, very few people know that, there was actually local TV on Channel 18 here from the Olympic Auditorium that was taped, I believe it was every Friday.
Oh, wow.
And what is great, you know, you've heard me endlessly talk about the local boys in the Hadco Plaza days, and this TV show featured, they featured stars from Mexico, but they also featured a lot of our local boys, Falcon de Oro, Al Murrieta, Loverboy, when they were young and in their prime.
Wow.
You know,
all these guys I saw at the show that looked...
At the show, actually, that's something we haven't mentioned is...
yes, all these guys who look like they were like already, basically.
Oh, exactly. You know, we were part of a reunion show on August 26th in Los Angeles, a place called Las Chavas Cafe. It was a reunion show with all the old local boys and the present local boys, too. It was one of the most enjoyable shows I've worked in years. I mean... One, it was fun just seeing all these guys from Hadco Plaza I used to watch, and a number of guys that I got to work with and haven't seen in many years. Biggest disappointment was Al Murrieta and Chacal Rivera weren't able to make it. But Gory Chavez is one of the guys who was there, and he's one of the ones who, it's really frustrating that when Hadco Plaza was in its glory days, none of those matches were videotaped. It's just, that was from like the mid-'70s to...
See, now compare that nowadays, where like, practically, like, there are indie shows here that maybe 10 people attend, and they're online.
Yeah, exactly. They're online. There's backward...
And in high definition.
Backyard matches on trampolines probably get more...
High definition, too.
But Gory Chavez was a guy who, unfortunately, I don't think he ever made the TV when it aired in 1981. And I have some tape of Gory Chavez in the early 90s, but by then... He was older, he's heavier, and he had a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
And when you see him work, you could tell he was a well-trained worker, but he just couldn't do what he did. And when I saw him in 1981, when I went to my first Hatco Plaza show, I see this kind of kind of pudgy guy get in the ring. I'm saying, oh, this guy's going to be great. And this guy was just a flawless worker. Just something to behold. He didn't look like a wrestler at all. He looked kind of like a pudgy kid.
Yeah.
But this guy moved like a dancer. I mean, and his high spots were flawless. And so, yeah, I wish the VCR thing happened about 10 years earlier.
I always laugh because I think we all try to figure out when the VCR era started. It's like, because there's some stuff that pops up and you're like, when did this first, when was the first VCR? It's like, that was like in 74, 75, wasn't it?
I remember, like, in 1973, our local library had a VCR, and it was the Wonder Instrument, and I remember the first thing I asked my mom, I wonder if they'll tape wrestling. And one of my brothers overheard and said, they would not tape that trash. Look, they have Masterpiece Theater. You think they're going to tape wrestling? And then it seems like when you get tapes, usually they're not the best quality because they're taped off, just straight antenna TV, not cable.
Yeah.
It seems like it's around from 1977 on is when
you start seeing like the higher quality.
Yeah, like the oldest LA stuff generally you see from a personal collection is.
And that person had to tape like in 2-hour SD mode or something.
Yeah.
Like, fuck, man.
Probably.
It looks really nice. Yeah, it looks really nice, and it's like how come my stuff doesn't look that good? It's like 6 hours. It's got like 6 hours. The film is all ripping into shreds.
But the nostalgia show we went to was really fun, and it was great seeing Gory Chavez. One of the workers. I never got to work with him, unfortunately. I did get to work with Al Marietta.
Yeah, you worked with the undercard guys, didn't you?
Yes,
well, actually the American guys.
The American guys?
Like some of them, like Greg Regalado.
Oh yeah, they'd have me work with them, but Antonio would also put me on with the local Mexican guys. Usually the opening matches, but occasionally I would get to work with somebody like Al Marietta. And just like Superboy, Al Marietta was one of my heroes.
Yeah.
One of my favorite teams was Al Marietta and Gory Chavez. Because you have Al Marietta, who's like, looks like this pistolero who like walked out of a spaghetti western. Instead of getting shot by Clint Eastwood, he takes away his gun and makes Clint Eastwood eat the gun or something like that. Just this bad motherfucker. And Gory Chavez, who just has this, like, was a rudo, but just had this sweet face, like this, like looks like the kid who gets A's, A's in school, but turn around, he backhands you. But both those guys were really nice guys, especially Gory Chavez. And if you're wondering why I'm going on and on about him, he's one of the guys who kind of put in a good word for me when I started learning lucha, and when I was getting on some of the shows, he'd say, "Yeah, this kid's okay."
Oh wow! He didn't hate you. He wasn't hate me. He didn't hate the gringo.
Exactly.
He actually liked the gringo. What was I going to mention? We got to talk about AAA.
Yes.
Because there's a couple of things that are going on in AAA.
Tell us.
That you don't have.
That I know nothing about.
You know nothing about. Well, their most recent taping, they had they always have this love story going on between the Apaches and a variety of wrestlers over the years. Now they have Fabi tagging with Cuervo. Mm-hmm. I think they're like an item now, and I don't know if it's just storyline or if it's. But
well, as wrestling history have it, usually when you have a love story that happens in storyline, it usually streams out into real life.
Yeah, later. so usually we're usually used to Fabi being the Apache sister that the guys are fighting over. Mm-hmm. Well, now this time around, it's Mary Apache.
Ah.
She has a love interest, and his name is Halloween.
Ah.
Halloween at the show brought flowers for her during one of their matches. I think it was Gran Apache and Mary versus Fabi and Cuervo. Mm-hmm. And after the match, he asked, if he get together with him. Mm-hmm. And she turned him down.
Oh.
She turned him down, which made there's a pic. If you go on my Facebook, the cover photo of it,
yes,
is Halloween like crying. It's so awesome.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So basically, that's a new angle, which of course everybody immediately complains because it's basically the same Fabi versus, Fabi love affair, like, it's the whole Apache love affair angle going again.
Yeah, but I guess
it's great. It's something to do with the
does it get together? Does it get over with the crowd?
I'm pretty sure it's going to get over with the crowd.
Then if it gets over, it gets over.
It's just starting, so it's going to be one of those things that I'm guessing it's going to be part of the storyline moving forward.
Now, if they just work Pimpinela in it, I give it a full thumbs up.
Yeah, Pimpinela and like Drago. Now she's in love with dragons. Pimpinela has a crush on dragons. And then the other big story was this is what offended a lot of people. Mm-hmm. El Consejo, which is the spoof group in AAA of CMLL, which has Tejano Jr. Tejano Jr. wasn't there. I think he was at another show. But it was Mascareno 2000 Jr. Who's I think Rob kind of found that he might have been in CMLL just like briefly. Mm-hmm. But not for a long stretch of time. They had him bring out a little mascot called Que Changuito, which is basically
the little monkey.
Yes, which is basically a spoof of Que Monito. So the internet people everybody online was like, "Oh, these guys, isn't AAA innovative? Aren't they supposed to be innovative and coming up with first?" Yes, it's a parody of the whole like CMLL. Like they gotta have their midget,
Yes,
their little mascot. It's like, so those are the two big stories out of AAA.
That's
Just
awesome.
That's all that's going on in AAA. I'm sure there's more stuff going on in AAA. But
those are the key angles. I love it.
Yeah, the whole.
That's my kind of promotion.
The whole well, see, right now what they're planning is they're setting up their Héroes Inmortales show in October, which of course now they're actually adding another TV show too. So there is a lot of there's a lot of Lucha TV in addition to a lot of wrestling TV in general. Yes, with Lucha right now there's CMLL. We basically have got Galavision, Cadena 3, Fox Sports, Guerreros del Ring on 52MX. Then you have the Terra.com show.
The live feed, right?
The live feed. You have Guadalajara, Las Luchas. You have Puebla on TVC Deportes. But now I think you have I'm not sure if that's still going on, but for sure now you're getting Puebla on Estrella TV, which is a channel that you could get on some U.S. cable stations and
so it's almost like you could have 5 TVs and watch nothing but CMLL all day and all night.
That's 8 CMLL shows.
I thought Dana White was crazy.
Yeah, I think there might be another CMLL show. I'm not sure. I lost count. And then now you have AAA that's on regional and national Televisa in Mexico. That's 2 shows. But then now you're going to get a show on TVC Deportes. That's their 3rd show. It starts with the 9:30 show, and IWRG is getting. They're going to get 2 shows.
Oh,
so what is that? That's 8, about 13 shows.
My
13.
God.
Oh, and then there's the Arena Coliseo show, Llaves y Candados. That's 14. There's Mundo de Lucha Libre. There's 15. There is a show that is going to start called in Yucatan. I don't know what it's called. That's 16. DTU claims they have a TV show.
Now, the Yucatan
17.
one...
Hold on, let me finish.
Okay.
There's IWL is saying that they're going to have TV. That would be 17, I think, or 18?
18.
18?
Yes.
And I think there might be something else. But go back to the Yucatan.
Yucatan. Is this an indie group? Is this...
I don't know. I think it might be indie and local. Indie, local guys, and maybe some other group.
I'd be curious just to see something different.
Yeah. It's not that... Trust me, it's not that...
Yeah.
Once you start getting...
It's not like the old days.
Yeah, not like the old days.
What I remember...
You know what I always dug? When you brought that tape of Guatemala... Because it looked, you know what it looked like? It looked like 1970s Alabama.
It did. It was a TV studio.
It looked like the Alabama show from like 1970s.
It was a TV studio taping, and really good workers.
Yes.
I mean...
Jorge, what was that guy's name?
Jorge Mendoza.
Jorge Mendoza.
They call him the perfect wrestler.
Yes.
And when you saw him, you saw this really old guy, and you said, perfect wrestler, but when he started going, man,
I put it on my YouTube page.
Yeah, that's worth checking out.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I remember, when I very first was in contact with Conan in 1989, I remember one of the things he's telling me, you should see all over Mexico the local boys, he says. it's not just the Tijuana local boys that are good. He says there's local boys in every region that will blow your mind.
Yeah, and it's true.
And has that kind of dissipated over the years? Or
Did you read my article I wrote on the 5 on the Rise?
I have not.
I wrote like about the top 5 young guys that are moving up, which kind of changes now because Ray Cometa lost, but he's still up there. He's 29 years old, so he's still up there. But it wasn't really the young guys, just new guys getting
guys
a new chance, you know. But I mean, there's Namahagwe from Japan, but there's a lot. Like I only wrote 5, but then I started writing like at the top a couple of other names that I could have mentioned, and I was like, and then what about this guy? And I kept thinking, oh, this guy too. There's a lot of talent in Mexico.
Yeah, well, that's why when I said there's something from Yucatan, I would be curious to see if it's just something local where they have local guys. You know, it might be a nice surprise.
Yeah, you never know.
I don't get my hopes up, but still.
AAA had a show where they had like local guys from one of the parts of the where they went, and they had like these guys who were pretty good. We couldn't figure out it took a while to figure out their names, but once you figured it out, they were actually pretty good. Conan has actually been really good at getting a lot of new talent in AAA. And it's kind of funny because I know when he first got there, he was like he didn't like the workers that were there, and he was talking about how he wanted to bring in better talent, and his idea of better talent was U.S. indie guys.
Yes,
which was like the wrong way to go with it. And now he's like bringing in like a lot of the lucha guys that he's seen that like they're pretty good. They actually scouted guys in Canada, and they found this guy who does like this big chubby dude. Who does a lot of good spots.
Oh, cool.
So it should be... They're doing a lot more now.
That's cool. I know I've said this before, but, AAA is something I've neglected and...
among other things.
Well, here's the thing. What I get on...
Did you watch WWE? Oh, that's another thing.
You know what? I DVR'd it because a friend of mine at work on Tuesday said, "Did you see WWE?" And I said, no, but I saw some dumbass infomercial for Subway that featured wrestlers on it.
Yeah. He didn't tell you anything about it?
No, he told me about the Sin Cara
yes.
match, and he was like... And he's a guy who usually comes in and says, it's just Raw, same old thing.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, Umberto, but he said, he told me you have to see the tag match. And so...
Forget about the tag match.
Really?
You gotta hear JBL. You have to hear JBL.
Oh, talk about the CMLL. He told me about that too.
Great. It was so fucking... Because everybody immediately starts like, oh my god, how people start... You go on Twitter and people are just, oh, how does this guy not tell the difference between CMLL and AAA? And then they're like, well, he's in WWE, would expect... JBL's been around the block, He's not a guy who's just been in WWE. He's a guy who's traveled Mexico, Japan, all these other places. He knows the difference between CMLL and AAA.
Right.
And it's like... But I was laughing because the way he said it, when people were... Because he said it on the pay-per-view. And the way he was saying it, it kind of sounded like... Did it stop recording?
No, it's good.
Oh, it sounded like he was like totally wrong. Like it was like he totally fucked up or something. But then when I heard it on Raw, it's like, no, he's fucking with everybody. He's trolling everybody.
Right. Because
there's no way. Like he said, Rey Mysterio and Sin Cara, 2 former CMLL world champions, or it was CMLL that because before that was AAA. Yeah. He said 2 former CMLL world champions. Like, dude, they've never. There's a weight class in Mexico.
You and I both know that if the two of us were able to,
we would be laughing at it.
If we were able to get a hold of a microphone on a TV show, we'd say things just to fuck with the internet trolls.
Yeah,
we just for kicks.
It was so funny because I immediately thought, JBL needs like his own wiki page, like all the wrong information. But it was hilarious. I actually thought it was great.
That's cool. But no, I DVR'd that just because. I heard that was a really good... I heard the match was one of the...
Yeah, it actually was. I can't remember.
Was it Primo?
The Puerto Ricans. Yeah, yes, because he said the 2 guys, he said they were world champions out of Puerto Rico. And I was like, I don't think they ever held... I think they might have.
And you know what?
But it had to be... You have to be specific.
It's so funny. Like, I know everybody hates Michael Cole and stuff, but you got to remember, I grew up with announcers who... Whenever somebody who looked Latino got into the ring, the commentator would say, well, and this guy was a world Mexican champion in the Latin countries of Mexico. And there's a Mexican leg sweep, just...
Well, that's how it always was. Like, even like in the 80s with Lucha, like when Mil Mascaras would show up, it's like, oh, Mil Mascaras. And then
if you're lucky,
and he was actually, at least he had, what they said was pretty much true.
Yes,
because
exactly. And that's if you're lucky. The other one said, Mills mascaras.
Yes, but it wasn't like they were lying, because he was a world champion.
Yeah,
Who else held the IWA?
He still holds it, doesn't he?
I think he lost it briefly to Grand Marcus, didn't he?
Oh, did he really?
And then he won it back or something.
Kind of did the moolah.
Yeah. I think he did that for a while, like years ago, like in 2000 or something.
Yes.
I'd like to think he might have done that. I'm not sure. I can't remember quite, but I kind of remember because there's so many belts in Mexico. It's like fucking ridiculous. Like all these, like UWA World Heavyweight. I'm like, UWA doesn't even exist anymore. Why is there somebody holding the Mexican National, the NWA Historic? Did you hear about the whole NWA thing?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have any inside info on that? What happened?
None, exactly.
You? Actually, I do.
Tell me.
I can't tell you.
Okay, we have to turn off.
Yes.
We'll have to conclude
I know
this.
the inside details.
But we're not going to tell anybody.
Actually, I don't. I don't really know.
Neither do I.
I just know that. I just know what Dave Marquez and who was the other person? Oh, Gabe. Gabe.
That's
Gabe
been
mentioned.
a fascinating story. Even though NWA isn't what it was. The whole.
I hope
it just goes to show the wrestling business never changes.
I just hope they didn't lose sleep over it. I understand when you're under the banner, you have to be like, oh yes, it's the NWA, it's the greatest and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But the NWA wasn't that great. But
we've known a number of different people who've promoted indie shows, and there's a lot of shows that nobody should lose sleep over, but they do.
Yeah.
They get. I don't know. Maybe it's just the creative process. You get wrapped up in it, and the politics. Even if
I wrote on Twitter, why didn't they just name it NWA Historic from Hollywood?
I got a better idea. With it being the wrestling business, it would be called the NWA Histrionic title.
Yeah. Oh God.
And that's another thing with Mexico is they've always been big on different weight class titles, but somehow it seemed to really mean something years ago, and now it's just like. They're handed out like candy.
There's so many of them. It's like just CMLL alone, they have so many belts. It's like even like the women have like 3 belts or something. Like do they even have a tag team title in? I think they might actually. I don't even know.
They should have it be where the wrestler who doesn't have the belt is the one who's actually the star because
I can only imagine how the fuck is Blue Panther working for them. Remember, he told me so all these guys have belts.
That's right.
He's probably like the one guy. He's probably the one guy at the booking meetings like suggesting.
He's rolling his eyes.
Yeah, he's probably like, man, maybe we should get rid of some of these belts.
That's right. For what we're talking about is about. 8 years ago, Fredo and I went to a show in City of Industry that where Blue Panther and Dos Caras
were wrestling. Which was a great match.
It was a great match, wonderful match.
Yeah.
And we're talking to Blue Panther. Rather, Fredo's talking to Blue Panther because I don't speak Spanish.
Yeah.
But all the local wrestlers are walking into the dressing room, and almost all of them have belts over their shoulders. And Blue Panther asked Fredo, does everybody have a belt here? What the hell?
Yeah.
He seems so baffled.
That's still I think I kind of wonder how much involved he is, because there's a lot of young guys getting pushed in CMLL for some reason lately.
Now,
and it's not just the from those tournaments that they do, because it just seems like there's a way more younger talent moving up in CMLL than before. Like you have Triton. Have you seen Triton?
Yes, I have.
The tassels and stuff. That guy's awesome. He's another guy. Ever since he's been on a roll. He hasn't missed a spot in a while. He hasn't he's another guy. New Mystico, but I think that was going to happen no matter what.
Now the new Mystico. Well, what's your take on him at this point?
Sucks. No, just kidding. No, he's all right. He screws up every once in a while, but it's not. I wasn't really expecting a Mystico to be the level of the other Mystico.
Right.
So it's
as was I.
Anybody who would have taken a spot, because the guys that they were mentioning as taking a spot wasn't going to be anything that they could have put Titan or Triton on in that mask, and I don't think they would have succeeded because it's like you're replacing somebody who's basically one of the all-time names for that promotion. Yeah, it'd be like Conan was talking about with John Cena. Like if he leaves. He's going to have to change his name, which of course I said John Cena. It's you're not going to have another John Cena show up let's just bring in another guy and call him John Cena. Oh, exactly. They won't know the difference.
Well, I remember when Hulk Hogan was first getting the big WWF push, you heard a lot of people naively saying, well, if Hulk Hogan left, who would they get to replace him? Who would look like him?
Yeah, so it's like...
it doesn't work that way.
So it's like, that's... Yeah, he wears a mask, but it's still like, the other Mystico had a little more charisma to him.
Right.
And he was more polished than this guy. Because this guy's only 19 years old, so it's like... Yeah, if you look at him now, seeing Cara, you're like, oh, how did...
Yeah, it's frustrating because I remember just how great he was at Mystico, and... I'll never forget his brief run as a heel in CMLL. Yeah. He was a brilliant heel. Yeah, I'm not saying that lightly. I'm saying what a great heel.
He might have been better as a heel than.
I think he should have stayed a heel. I don't know why. I don't know if he pulled the plug, if they pulled the plug, but he should have stayed heel. He was awesome.
I look at him in WWE, and it's like
you want to scream.
It's kind of funny because when we were talking about Dandy, how everybody says that, but even Dandy, like WCW gave their guys at least a chance to at least look good in the ring,
Yeah, yeah.
You never complained about. Nobody ever complained how bad the guy looked in the ring. They complained about how they never got pushed.
Oh yeah, I mean I remember.
You don't hear that about Sin Cara. Nobody says Sin Cara. Why aren't they pushing him? They're always saying like, "Whoa, this guy sucks."
Yeah.
But look who he's wrestling against. He's wrestling like Ted DiBiase Jr. probably. Or Jinder Mahal or some shit like that. But like the other guy, I mean, LA Park, he always had great matches in WCW.
Totally, and he had the closest thing to a push in that they had him do his chair spot and stuff. Yeah. And usually, I don't know.
You got to give guys a shot to make it. They never even brought in anybody to help them.
Now, in closing, we talked about the TV. Of course, I have Time Warner, so the only Lucha I get is Galavision on Saturday nights. If there are people out there who have access to the multitudes of wrestling TV and
YouTube,
you could pick 2 shows to watch.
I thought you were going to ask me. I thought you were going to. I thought you were going to ask me. Mm-hmm. What channel are they on? And it's like, gosh, no. I just had this whole discussion on Twitter about what channel 13.2 is in Mexico. It's like, I don't fucking know.
Yeah. No, if you were just gonna off the top of your head pick 2 shows that they said that you would suggest people watch if they wanted to get a good lucha fix and had a choice.
It depends on what you like.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on what you like. If you want a storyline driven show with at least one good match, you're gonna watch AAA show. AAA show is really good. If you want just wrestling, you're going to want to watch an IWRG show.
Oh, okay.
But, I mean, lately I shouldn't say anything bad about them because they follow me on Facebook now. They like me. So, I don't know. They use a lot of bad workers now, but they blend them in with... You still get Negro Navarro and Los Traumas. So you're still going to get good matches. They've always had this thing, and I think they accept it.
Yes.
Where it's like they're always going to have a bad match on top, but or somewhere in there because of the star names, the big names. But they're always going to have at least one good match where you're going to be like, okay, that's good. And then they're going to have the undercard, which is pretty solid too.
Oh, with very good.
Chicano and all those golden matches.
So if you watch something, if you turn on their show, there will be something you'll like.
And then with CMLL, you probably can't go wrong with Cadena Tres. Mm-hmm. Well, of course, they had that one bad women's match, but I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Don't hate me for that. Yeah, don't hate me for that. And the Fox Sports Show.
Okay, very cool. Yeah. Very cool. Well, I think we covered quite a bit tonight.
Oh my God, we're going to talk about Rey Mendoza Jr.
Oh, we can't close the show without talking about that. You must tell us about that.
This Tajiri's new promotion. I think it's Wrestling New Classic, WNC.
Mm-hmm.
They booked Rey Mendoza Jr., Villano 5, for a match against Fit Finlay. It already happened. It happened today.
Yes.
I guess yesterday over there. But before that, they had a press conference. I haven't seen the match, but the press conference is great. I put it on it's on my website. If you go on the LuchaWorld website, you'll find it on the one of the Perusa reports, or whatever you call it, Perusa or whatever.
Perusa.
Yeah. I should the Japanese report just to piss everybody off. Like, dude, you can't even. I marvel at that one show on Figure 4, the Adam and Mike show. They just say the Japanese names like, Kawaii. You know,
when I remember a few years ago hearing David Bixenspan's interview with Ross Hart, and whenever he talked about Japanese wrestlers in the past, not only did he remember the names of these really obscure guys, but he had the pronunciation down.
Yeah, and I marvel that people could do that. Like, but I guess it's. I mean, hey, I can say the Spanish name, so
yeah.
What more do you want? But on there, there's a video of the press conference. It's just like a 2-3 minute video clip, and Tajiri's sitting very uncomfortably in between them, and Finley's gonna start the press conference talking. He puts down the microphone and just stares, and just like gives this big old sigh of really like. And Raymond Mendoza Jr. is on the other side, kind of smiling. He's one of those. You've seen him without the mask. He's a very like jovial.
Oh yeah. Well, he has
the scars and shit, but
he has his father's smile.
Yeah, so he's very He's a very happy guy.
Yes.
So watch it. Oh, it ended. It ended as.
No, we're good.
He It's funny. Finley ends up like he starts with the "You know who I am." And Raymond does like, yes, I know who you are. You're Finley. like I think he thinks it's like a conversation. Like,
right.
like Finley's cutting a promo, and Raymond does like, yeah, I know who you are. You're Finley. Remember we went in WCW or something. and he's like, you know who I am. He's like, and so they do this whole thing where they're talking about going back and forth about Raymond does like, you know who I am. it's like yes, I know. I'm pretty sure maybe Finley doesn't even know who he is. And he's probably like, yeah, you were in that garbage. Remember that trash?
The garbage tournament that Finley won and got hurt in.
Yeah. I think even Viano 5 might have been one of the guys who got hurt in that, wasn't he?
Yeah.
One of the Mexicans got hurt. And Silver King was the one. Silver King.
Oh, okay.
And so then they get up to like do the pose like in like MMA and boxing.
Like the stare down.
Yeah,
pose?
The stare down.
Yeah.
And Finley's like, do you know I'm the best in the world? And Raymond Mendoza Jr. is like, no. I'm the best in the world, but like with that smile and like I just thought the back and forth between them was great. I'm pretty sure. I mean, Raymond Mendoza Jr. is actually not that bad. He could have his moments where he's like the shittiest worker, but I think he's all right.
But he can still turn it on when he needs to. Yeah, he can still do it. That's awesome.
I think it depends on what you like in, like I say, it depends on what you like in wrestling.
Apples and oranges, and
If you hate Raymond Mendoza, you're going to hate him in this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the older I get, the more open-minded I am to
there is
things,
so many lucha guys going to Japan now. A lot of Mexicans going to Japan now.
Well, it's like there's such a Japan lucha connection I mean...
Well, that's why I'm covering it now.
There's been a number of, going way back when there'd be wrestlers from Mexico going to, like, Japan, whether it's Connect or Puerto Uruguayo, but it seemed like around 1990 when... the UWF promotion. At least in my eyes, that's when the whole Lucha Japan connection really started. It kind
of became, and then like in around 2000 or 2000, like later in the 2000s, you didn't really see a lot of the back and forth with Japan and Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
You'd see it with New Japan and CMLL and maybe some other places, but it wasn't. It like now it's like Ricky Marvin's been there for the longest time. Super Crazy's there now. Raymond Mendoza just went. The CMLL New Japan connection has like Mascara Dorada and Averno and Felino are over there right now. Solar's son is over there.
Oh, very cool.
I think Pantera's son was there for a while too. Who else is over there? There's been like a Sarah Stock is over there right now. Dark Angel.
Mm-hmm.
she's still getting. CML stopped. That's another big story that was going on. CML kept plugging her as being on shows.
Oh.
And she wasn't going to be there. So people started saying, hey, she's not going to be there. So they started asking, like, Apollo Dantes and all these people, like, is she going to be there? And finally they would be like, no, she's not going to be there. It's going to be somebody else.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, of course, let's replace Sarah Stock with Yuvia.
Well, you know what? That's funny because that's one of the things wrestling always did. If somebody was out of the promotion, they'd keep billing them for months and months. Where now, you can't get away from.
Why they do it is if they leave,
mm-hmm.
they prove that they actually work. Like if there's ever like a problem between
mm-hmm.
them, they can still prove that they were still getting booked.
Oh,
so it's not like I think they started that with one of the guys who I think it might have been. I don't know if it was Tony Rivera,
mm-hmm.
but it was around that time. Because remember Dr. X, they were still promoting.
Yes.
Well, he died, but Loco Max. I don't think they did that with Loco Max. Loco Max left. Did you know that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Loco Max isn't part of CML anymore. I'm sure you're disappointed.
Totally.
You're like, who the fuck is Loco? You're like, who the fuck's Loco Max? Did you ever see him? The ball guy?
I've seen him, but he didn't.
Okay. Yeah, he left because he wasn't getting booked. I'm surprised more guys haven't left, because, I mean, there's so many guys in CMLL that it's like, you kind of think at some point there's going to be less work for them.
Yeah, well, I mean, how is it, though? I mean, with a lot of guys, are they generally getting good bookings, or is it uneven, or, you know?
It's hard to figure out.
Yeah.
I think I would actually have to, like, take notes. Like, number crunch. I think that's something Cubs fan.
One of these days we'll have a special Lucha World episode. It's going to be the notes episode, where both of us take notes, and we're going to compress everything into a 30-minute show.
Yes.
And it's going to blow some people's minds, but it won't blow anybody's mind as much as it blows our minds.
I think it would be hilarious, like, and I've tried, like, taking notes, like, when I do the LuchaWorld 100, it's so difficult to keep track of all that stuff. It's like, if Chris Zellner and Cubs fan weren't around, and Rob doing all this other stuff, I don't think anybody, like, one person couldn't do it.
Yeah, well, you know, it's funny, I have to take notes when I watch. If I'm going to talk about a match, I find I have to take notes nowadays, where there'll be matches I remember from the early 80s that I kind of would just watch and remember, but for some reason, I guess because I watch enough stuff that how are you going to remember it all?
Yeah.
And
it's
again,
like
my short-term memory as I get older. Well, anyway, this has been a fun episode.
And finally,
Cool.
Kurt's thoughts on Big Daddy.
Begrudgingly, I think he should be in.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Brian Brown. Kurt Alvarez. Kurt Alvarez.
I have not heard
traitor.
that. I have not heard that podcast yet.
You've turned
and
your
I
back.
say it, but you know what? I voted. I didn't vote him in just because I think there were 10 people.
Well, you know what the thing is, you really haven't seen him.
I've seen him.
Oh, you
Because
actually
on YouTube, the World of Sports stuff is all available.
And you've actually done some research on him, like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well,
Let me ask you, how much do you have to be, like, as far as knowing about something to actually vote for it, like for the Hall of Fame? Like, how into it do you have to be? Like, because I mean, some people are voting for Lucha who I don't think really follow Lucha.
Well, I will be so... Okay, one, if Dr. Wagner Sr. does not make it into the Hall of Fame, I question who is representing Mexico. Who are the voters representing... Because
60%.
60%. He should automatically be in. It shouldn't be...
That should be you, Tanae.
It should not even be up for vote.
That should be like, there's like 10 people, like 8 of you or 9 of you. Maybe one of you or 2 of you forgot. Or had him like as your 11th person.
But if I found out he got 30% of the ballot, I would cry fraud and say, who are the goons who didn't vote for it? Anybody who understands Lucha, knows Lucha history, knows how significant Dr. Wagner was. We're talking about, you talk about him, Angel Blanco, El Solitario.
Yeah.
I mean, El Solitario, a lot of his elevation was with the help of Angel Blanco and Dr. Wagner.
The whole feud.
A lot of key matches he was involved in. I honestly, I'd love to say I know exactly how the Hall of Fame works, but I don't quite understand it. I don't think my vote for Big Daddy should count. I know some about British wrestling. Okay, this is how nerdy a fan I was when I was in my teens. I actually subscribed to Ring Sport magazine from England.
Really?
Yes.
So you should vote for British wrestling.
Yeah, and it's not that there's much depth in those magazines, but I mean, I remember reading
just because I'm like, you subscribe. Oh, you should. I subscribe to PWI.
Well, the articles were all...
I should vote for Georgia Wrestling or people from other parts because I subscribe to PWI.
Yeah, but Ring Sport magazine, the articles were like half a page long. Yeah. I mean. The pro wrestling, the Bill Apter magazines looked like War and Peace in length compared to Ring Sport. But still, I read about Dynamite Kid when he was like a skinny little thing. And, Big Daddy. And I remember even then looking at Big Daddy saying, this guy's like it. But, he was way over. And, of course, his family owned the promotion, so that had a lot to do with it. But still... You can own the promotion and try to push somebody to the stars. If they don't have that sort of something, they don't have
there's
it.
proof with Goulas.
Exactly. George Goulas, the territory...
Jarrett. Jeff wasn't really the big draw.
Exactly. And with George Goulas, the territory died because he was so convinced his son was the champ.
Yeah.
But I have a friend who actually lived for England for 3 or 4 years. I think he was like preteen or something like that. and he's somebody who's watched a lot of wrestling and really appreciates like the great workers, especially during the WCW period with Chris Jericho, Eddie Guerrero, and but he just without shame said, "I love Big Daddy."
And Loch Ness. Was that Giant Haystacks? That was Giant Haystacks.
That was Giant Haystacks. Yeah, okay. Yes. Well, but no, when he lived in England, he said his favorite thing in wrestling was Big Daddy, and he acknowledged he wasn't a great wrestler, but he said he just absolutely loved him. And he wasn't the only one. I mean, the general... I know the wrestlers all hated him. Yeah.
Wrestling Observer Hall of Famer. Mm-hmm. Catweazle.
Yes!
Would he be in?
I'd vote him in. Nobody else would, but I would.
You're going to write him in Catweazle. You should write it with pen, Catweazle.
He's in the Vandal Drummond Hall of Fame. He's in the Incredibly Strange Hall of Fame. Catweazle was based off...
You know, I was looking for Catweazle, and there's this guy who has 2 DVDs, 2-disc set of Catweazle. I was like, holy shit.
No way!
Yeah,
I want it. I
was laughing.
No, it's funny because he was based on a character in a science fiction series in the 1970s.
Oh, really?
About a guy named Catweazle who travels, who's from like 5 centuries ago and accidentally travels through time into the modern day and befriends like some kid who kind of they kind of like take care of each other.
Did you hear the story about I don't know if you heard I guess it might have been William Regal who was showing Ricky Steamboat footage, and he showed him Catweazle?
No, I didn't hear this.
I think it was Ricky Steamboat. Ricky Steamboat was like marking out for Catweazle.
I marked out from when I saw him
and I was like, wow.
Again, Ring Sport magazine. I saw photos of this guy. He's this guy who looked like Fagin from Oliver Twist. Yeah. I'm just like, this guy's awesome. And when I finally saw footage of him, he wasn't much of a worker.
Yeah.
But you could tell people loved him because I remember, was it Mick McManus he wrestled? I mean, Mick McManus, who was a top heel, and Mick McManus actually gave him a fall. And England, unlike Mexico, there were a lot of 2 straight fall matches. Like if there was a jobber and a top guy, they'd just do the match in 2 straight falls. Mm-hmm. But you know, so I guess people were pretty fond of him. In fact, I remember reading a book on British wrestling about 10, 12 years ago where it's all the old-timers talking.
Ooh, look at you reading a book on British wrestling.
British. I felt quite refined when I read it. But no, I can't remember which wrestler it was, but one of the older wrestlers was saying, "Oh, we're getting older and it's sad." And he just mentioned, "Well, Catweazle passed away recently." He just sounded really sad that Catweazle was gone. Wow. So he wasn't like a top worker, but it sounds like everybody had a great affection for him.
Yeah, he was one. He stands out. Like I think that it's one of those things where somebody has a cool gimmick, he's going to stand out compared to like somebody who's in.
And you know me, as much as I love great workers, pro wrestling is about ambience for me. And I mean, Titanes in El Ring, Argentina, that's some of my favorite stuff, and none of it's based on work rate. I mean, so Catweazle, he's in my Hall of Fame.
Better than Big Daddy.
I put him over Big Daddy any day.
I'm just kidding. I don't really care either way. I love how you gotta listen to it because Dave says he doesn't care, and he's like still like arguing with.
I have
Brian.
to hear this.
I was just like laughing the whole time. Like,
I have it downloaded, and I'm looking forward to listening to it.
It's a really good show.
It's gonna be good. Well, I think this is the longest Lucha World we've done.
Is it?
I think, maybe the Superboy one was.
That was pretty long.
Yeah, that was long, but had a lot of fun.
It's like 6 hours long. Did this match the Dave and Dylan's podcast for 3 hours?
No.
Or Bix's 4-hour marathon.
Let's see, how long are we? I think it's probably a good time to wrap it up because we're at the 1 hour, 34 minute, and 45 second mark. So, for those of you who've stayed through the whole podcast, a huge thank you. We think you guys rock. And we look forward to being back for the 10th edition of Lucha World.
You can't remember. You can't remember which number.
This is number 9.
Yes, I think so.
Number 9.
Yes.
Number 9. We will see you folks really soon.